Hi everybody, we are going to, pardon me while I shift my seat here, we're going to talk about fraction estimation before we start our unit on all the operations involving fractions. We will be doing adding, subtracting, multiplying, and dividing of fractions, but it's important that you understand just the general way that you can see if your answer is correct, and we're going to do that through fraction estimation. So the first thing I'm going to show you, and I have a copy of this for each of you, it might not show up well on the DocCam, is I have a sheet that will show you the size. This is a whole strip that goes straight across right there. This is how big halves are. This is how big thirds are. This shows fourths all the way down, and I will show you, all the way down to 13ths. Little 13th pieces. I have one of these for each of you. So as you look at, well, about how much is 1/6 plus 1/7, you can kind of gauge the sizing of it all. These are really nice as you wander through this chapter to just keep in your notebook and use. So what we are going to do is we're going to talk about fraction estimation first. You'll see my little wavy equal signs. That is a term that means approximately equal to. I'll write that, approx equal to. So 1/8. If I look at 1/8 even on this sheet, it's way closer, even if we were going to see, is it very close to the 1/2 mark? It really isn't. So that would round down to a 0. We would just take it off if we were adding two things. If you are looking at 5/9, that's pretty close to a half. And I'll show you that on here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's 5/9. And all the way up here is 1/2. If I were to lay my pen down, it's just slightly above that 1/2 mark. So I would round that to 1/2. If I am looking at 6/7, put the sevenths up here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'm all the way up to here. I'm almost at that 1. So it's a pretty easy concept. What we're trying to get you to do is see the fraction in your head. So for a mixed number, if we have 4 1/3, we would round that back down to a 4. It's approximately equal to 4. And 5 3/4, that's approximately equal to 6. So if we were going to add 4 1/3 and 5 3/4 and say estimate the difference, we would just simply add the 4 plus the 6. Easy peasy. So we are going to round to the nearest half if it's below a 1. But the rest of the time, we're going to round to the whole number. So I want you to pause the video and tell me what you think 1/4 would round to, 5/6, and 2 9/16. All right, check out the answers that you see here. The 1/4 would actually round up to the 1/2. It's halfway between the 0 and the 1/2, so we always round that up. So that's 1/2. 5/6 goes to 1, and 2 9/16 rounds to about a 3. So we're going to estimate the difference of 6 1/4 and 1 5/6. So when we do that, we are going to look at 6 1/4. Is that going to go down to a 6 or up to a 7? Well, I can see with the 1/4, and if you need your handy dandy fraction page, if you only have 1/4, it's going to round back down to that whole number. So that is going to be a 6. And I'm going to do the approximately equal over here. And then we're going to subtract it from 1 5/6 is nearly a 2. So when I solve for the exact answer, I should get an answer that is near or around the number 3. So that's my estimation. All right, we are going to talk then about estimating a sum. Only this one I am going to give you a little scenario. let's say I need to go into Joann Fabric and I need to get 1/5 of a yard of some stuff to create panther pants for my daughter, and then I need to get 7/8 of a yard of this other kind of ribbon she wants for her panther pants. So I need a combination of both of those. How many total yards will I need? Well, if I know that I need to buy something, I don't want to round this 1/5 back down to a 0, because then I won't get enough. Then I'll get 0 of the ribbon. So I am going to say, this is my ribbon example. Using my logical reasoning, I'm just going to say, I'm going to estimate it at about half a yard to get an idea of how much it will cost and how much I will need. And then 7/8, I am going to round to a 1. So I'm going to say I need approximately 1.5 yards of the ribbon to decorate with Hannah's panther pants. Realize in other situations you might make a different decision with the 1/5, and you might want to round that back down to a 0. But in this case, we know we actually need something because we need to buy it in order to create something. So would you please try and estimate these 4 questions? I'm going to write what they end up being and their final answer next to them, and you can compare. If you get all 4 of these correct, then I would say you are ready to start your assignment. Right, so hopefully for each of these answers, for number 1, you should have ended up with 2. These are the numbers I rounded to. For number 2, you should have ended up with 1/2. Notice the 1/6 in this case did round down to the 0. Most of the time these will round to either the half or the 0. The only time you use the 1/2 is when it's below like 9/16 will round to 1/2. The rest of the time it will round to a whole number. So here we have 3 minus 2 is 1. And finally we should have 6 minus 2 is 4. Please come see me if you have any questions. It's important that you have a good sense of what these fractions really mean. You can fold this up and perhaps tape it into your math notes. I've had a lot of students in the past just take a whole page where they folded it in half, like so, and taped it at the bottom end so that they can open it and close. Usually it's on the left side of the notebook. See if I can get a picture up. So they would have to turn it to the side, but it kind of folds out. It's a great resource to have as we go through the rest of our unit on fractions. We will be working on adding and subtracting with like denominators and then different denominators. So it's very important that you continue to work on your speed and accuracy for all of your multiplication facts. I hope you have a great lesson today, a great work time, and see me if you have questions.